All right, so could you imagine the task of using objects to tell the story of your life? And what if your life began more than 200 years ago?
The Smithsonian's History of America in 101 Objects is coming to the Durham Museum this evening.
And Carrie Meyer is the curator there. Good to see you, Carrie.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And there's a reason why you're wearing purple rubber gloves.
There are, yes.
Okay,
Precious documents in those folders.
We'll get to that later, but let's talk about this lecture tonight. Who's speaking?
Dr. Richard Kieran is the Undersecretary of History, Art, and Culture at the Smithsonian, and he wrote this book that I brought with me today, The History of America in 101 Objects.
He
knows a lot.
There's a few pages.
Just a few.
How many pages?
Yeah.
It's a thick
You
book.
know, you would ask me that.
It's like War and Peace, to be frank.
Yeah,
It's
it is
very
a thick book.
But what is he looking at? These 101 objects, which stood out to you?
Well, he's looking at everything from prehistory all the way up to our present day. So he's got things in there from the Burgess Shale artifacts to Dorothy's red shoes to the first plastic, things. So, like those types of things, all the way up to artwork and Obama's campaign, things like that. So all of these things that show our history of America.
It tells the story of America,
Yeah. As a curator, why are objects important to history, whether it's America's history or what we see locally?
Well, the object actually takes you to that time and place. It's that piece that was there in the moment that may have been used, that may have been worn. It's that touchstone to the history. And so that's the fun part for me as being able to be a caretaker of that history as a curator and being able to have books like this that talk specifically about those objects and take you to that point in time.
I would love to dive into that book, but you've also brought some images and some objects as well from the Durham's collection. So what did you bring in today?
Well, Dr. Kieran's book kind of inspired us alongside of our identity exhibition to talk about our identity.
Bob Gibson jersey?
Yes, that is one of the ones that made our top 50 artifacts at the Durham. That is a signed jersey by Bob Gibson from his World Series days. So that's why that one made our cut for the 50 artifacts.
That's a nice piece.
It is. It's a very wonderful piece. This one here is actually on display. You can see this at the Business Hall of Fame exhibition. That's the only surviving door from a Falstaff brewery vat that was dismantled during Prohibition, and so it's been saved, and now we have it at the museum. It's about 10 feet tall.
Where is that store? Where is that located?
That's at the Business Hall of Fame. Just if you go to Scout and you take a right, it's there in the exhibit.
You'll run into it. And then an iron lung. Why was this significant for you?
Well, Children's Hospital donated this to us last year, and actually children started with the polio epidemic here in Omaha in the 1950s, and this iron lung was one of those pieces that was used.
That's one of those to take you back in a time where you just couldn't imagine being one of those children.
And it has more of a history to it than just the photos, because you can look at the object and the picture and seeing people inside of it. Only about 30 are still used today.
Well, back to the rubber gloves.
Yes, the rubber gloves.
Let's talk about this, because you have some documents.
I do.
Jefferson?
Thomas
Jefferson
there
letter?
is a Thomas Jefferson letter here. This one is actually, this is all from the Byron Reed collection, which made our list of our most famous artifacts. This is actually signed. Here's his signature down here. This is Monticello, 1799.
Could you point it to that direction so our viewers can see it better? Thank you.
There's Thomas Jefferson's signature right there. And this letter is actually to a gentleman named John Callender, and Callender was one of those Democratic Republicans that helped Jefferson get into the presidency. He was part of the campaign to sort of smear Adams.
And what a cool piece to bring us today on Election Day.
Exactly. This piece is actually talking about a pamphlet that hasn't yet come out yet. This is September, so it hasn't been the election. And after Callender was actually jailed for his talk about Adams under the Alien and Sedition Acts. After Jefferson's president, he gets released, goes to Jefferson and kind of wants something for his trouble. Jefferson says, nah, I don't think so.
Oh boy.
And then he goes back to his press and prints a story about Jefferson and Sally Hemings.
Okay.
So that's the larger contrast.
Politics back then.
Absolutely.
Still very
letter is
similar.
an incredible treasure. We've got about just a minute left. What else do you have here?
I have this one here that I'd love to show you guys.
Be careful. Look, now she's rushing.
Yeah,
don't go too fast.
I'm good. I'm good. This is a letter from Edouard Laboulaye, if you've ever seen National Treasure 2. Edouard Laboulaye, the principal architect of the Statue of Liberty. And I don't know if this will show up too well on camera, but the second page is the important part. That's a photograph of the Statue of Liberty. This is 10 years before it would ever be actually in Liberty, on Liberty Island in New York Harbor. So this is some of the first press releases that came out about the Statue of Liberty, and these are here in Omaha, and it's here in my hands.
Wow, there are still a few seats available for this evening, but you do need to RSVP. If you're a member of the Durham already, then your admission to the lecture is already covered. However, if you're not, you see some pricing there, whether you're an adult or a child. If you're 2 or under, the little ones get in. But this is going to be special. It starts at 6:30. There will be a reception, as some of these lectures often include. Please plan on that. Thank you so much for being
thank
here.
you so
Karen's
much.
book, 762 pages, by the way.
There you go.
Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Really
All right,
great
still
stuff.
ahead.
Thank you.
Indie folk.